Hey astronauts, it's me, Brandy, and welcome back to Astro Research. I missed you, lovely astronauts. Life has been very challenging for me, from job loss to anxiety. There's just been a lot going on, but I am happy to be back here today. Today's reading is where will you be a year from now? And this will probably go into the events of what's going to happen between now and next year, because we don't just spawn up into the next year without things happening. Growth happens in increments, right? So we have 5 piles to choose from, but before we get started, I do want to let you know, if you want to follow me and see what I'm up to, you can follow me on TikTok. I will link that below, but let's not waste any time. Let's get into these piles. We have pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, pile number 4, and pile number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. If you've chosen pile number 1, let's get started on your reading. What will be happening a year from now? Let's see, we have the Empress. We have the Hierophant. Wow, so many major cards. We have the Ace of Pentacles. We have Jupiter and Uranus. And we have Megashira. Let's throw these together. Wow. Okay. So, where will you be at a year from now? So, now this covers events that may happen between now and next year, but essentially where you'll be at a year from now is you'll be in a place where you feel very comfortable and very much like you're in your element. That the Empress represents this woman who feels fulfilled, happy, blessed. She is loving, giving, nurturing, as well as creative. And she just generally feels like she's in a place where she has peace and structure and happiness in her life. And whenever I get the Empress card, it always represents just this place of calm. And, you know, it's not like it's boring anything, because we do have Jupiter Uranus, but we'll get in that in a second. But it's just feeling like you have some sort of structure to your life, for the most part. Obviously, with this Jupiter and Uranus thing going on here, there's an element of unpredictability. We just had the major Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in, I believe, the sign of Taurus on April 20th this year. And it just basically covers a new period of time in your life, depending on where this house, this conjunction happened, where over the next, I believe, 14 years, it will bring this element of unpredictability, which is interesting because these cards here are so stable for the most part. But there are just an element of excitement. I remember specifically the conjunction on that day. I had gone to like a food festival in New York, so I was traveling, which is not something I do every day. And in fact, every conjunction in Taurus since, major conjunction or aspect, I have been traveling since. So for you, it can represent something along the lines of, hey, I'm doing something I normally don't do, but it's exciting and it makes me happy. You can be like, this is not the normal usually pattern it's been for me over the past decade, but now I'm in a new pattern that feels different, feels a little bit exciting, okay? So that's what I mean by that predictability, but unpredictability, okay? Compared to over the past maybe 14 years or decade, you may be like, this is a little bit different, but now it's becoming your new normal. So you'll be settling into a new normal within your life. And it's a new normal that you'll find very exciting and fulfilling, and it'll make you happy. So you're going to be in a really good place a year from now, doing a lot of things that make you feel just, I don't know, just, I guess I'm going to use the word excited again. But if we go back up here, As we even get into the Hierophant and the Ace of Pentacles. The Hierophant can represent so many elements. But the thing that I want to talk about is probably work and money going on here. So there's a lot more financial opportunities or security that's coming into your life. Ace of Pentacles can mean like a new idea for a business. It could also mean like a new job that you may be interested in. So either you're starting a new business, you're starting a new job, or possibly a promotion with the Ace of Pentacles here. But anyway, either way, I get the Hierophant to represent like usually community structures, work environments as well. And when we have the Ace of Pentacles next to it, it can say new work environment, new co-workers, new boss, new role in the sense. Maybe you even change fields. That's quite possible with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction here. It may be saying, hey, you've kind of switched and transformed into a new career, or even just taking up a second job or a new hobby, because we do have Mrigashira. Mrigashira is located in the sign of Taurus and Gemini. In fact, Jupiter will be entering Mrigashira sometime this summer, okay? And the transit of Jupiter I'm talking about. And I mentioned this because not the transit specifically, but more so things having to do with new jobs and along the lines of that, because we have so many cards having to do with earth elements. Taurus, Pentacles here represent earth signs. So that's Taurus, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. The Hierophant is connected to Taurus, and obviously the Empress is connected to Venus, which rules over Taurus. So in any possible mention of Taurus we've got here, we've got Taurus a lot of times. So there's a lot of things having to do with finances, money, family, as well as kind of doing what you eat, your diet. Those things can change. And whenever we talk about money, we obviously talk about changes when it has to do with work. It could also be inheritance, but I don't really see anything representing inheritance going on here. Inheritance more of an 8th house or even sometimes 4th house, but it deals with more so like water signs when I've seen inheritances. So this is more so work that you have probably earned yourself. And so there's a lot of changes going on in that area for the life, but changes for the better, changes for the good. All of those changes I mentioned before are more likely possibilities that are going to be happening for you. For some of you, you may even be like, okay, we have a new addition to the family, or maybe even joining a family, because when we have the Empress and the Hierophant, that can also mean like getting married, because we have a church, we have a bride here, and then we have an Ace of Pentacles, and I've also got an Ace of Pentacles to mean like new additions to the family. Sometimes it's even just like a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a long-term committed relationship going on here for you. So some of you maybe find yourself entering a relationship within the next year, or a year from now you are in a relationship, and that may be something that's new and exciting for you depending on, you know, the relationship. This all looks very good if I'm going to be honest. And then also with Mrigashira, we do have this element when it has to do with searching, looking for something, seeking answers. Mrigashira is a placement that when they're young, they may often look for validation from other people, and they have to kind of grow into their own and learn to seek their own answers and what's right for them. Because we have so many like earth themes and along the lines of that, you may be discovering what is valuable for you. I know whenever I've seen major transits to the second house, which is all that Taurus energy, because Taurus is connected to the second house, there's a lot of reflection when it goes on to what you find valuable. And that can be anything from, hey, do I value taking showers every day? Am I somebody who values eating healthy? Am I somebody who values personal style? Am I someone who values skincare? You know, things along the lines. I'm naming like more so superficial things. Do I value cars? Do I value my family? Do I value quality time with friends? Do I value luxury items? Do I value reading books? You know, things along the lines of that. So you may even be reevaluating what it is that you find valuable in this lifetime. And you may find and discover that there are some new things in which you can find appreciation in. I know when last time I had a major transit to the second house, I think I realized that I just wanted to have a lot more nicer things and experience new things. And that was something that I had to really discover for myself. I mean, it's an aspect I knew about myself, but I was like, okay, wow, I really, really like just having luxury, nice things. That's a silly example, but like it could be something like there were some major other things along the lines of that. I'm trying to think of any major belief transitions. Yes, this was major. Like I previously had a belief where I was like saving certain experiences for if I was in a relationship or if I was dating. And then I decided, why don't I just go do that myself? Why don't I just go invest in myself? So I started investing more in myself, and thus there was a change in value system. Instead of saying, oh, I value this experience with another person, I can say, no, I value just going out to dinner by myself. You know what I mean? So there can be an element of that, just changing of belief systems, changing of patterns, changing of behaviors and how you go about things. And Migashira, we also deal with, God, there's so many themes of Migashira. It's hard for me to narrow down, but I mean, all the nakshatras have major themes, but Migashira, we're going to do a lot of reflecting on the past as well. And we're going to try to really figure out exactly who we are, what we want in this lifetime. And it's really more so about building confidence within yourself. When it comes to Migashira, a lot of people will have a theme of feeling like trapped, or even in worst case scenarios, manipulation, gaslighting, things along the lines of that. But generally with Migashira, there's an element of feeling like trapped, or looking for your home, or even wanting to go outside and just explore and figure out your way in this lifetime and creating your own path for yourself. So over the next year, I feel like you're going to be redefining what it is that you want in your life, who you see yourself as a person, and even possibly breaking out of your shell. A lot of Migashira people will kind of, weirdly enough, be homebodies. Some of them are forced within circumstances where they are sort of like I mentioned before, trapped or stuck in a home, etc. But others will mentally trap themselves. Migashira deals with a lot of issues when it comes to anxiety, and as well as having just a lot of Marshall's placements, but we're talking specifically about Migashira. And I know a lot of Migashira people will deal with elements of just not having people treat them the best, where people have been very harmful towards them. And that's important to keep in mind that Mars is a malefic planet, so that's going to happen to most Mars rule placements. But yeah, people may not treat them the best. They may be very manipulative. Worst case scenario, there's probably some like bullying, teasing, not worst case scenario, but like on a lighter end, there's probably bullying, teasing. So whenever they reach out to someone, it may be quite possibly that in their past, especially during their childhood, they've had very negative experiences. And thus they become more so homebodies, isolated. And so they can maybe isolate themselves and they get stuck in their head and their own thoughts. Good thing about Migashira is they are generally very smart people. Pretty much every Migashira person I know has a master's degree, PhD, whatever. It's something along the lines of that. And that's another theme. You may find yourself investing in your higher education, gaining more skill sets along the lines of that. Skills that can be used in a practical way to build you and get you more money. And all of that has to do with personal growth. So there's a lot of personal growth going on for you, but you may find yourself a little bit more like a homebody to some degree. A year from now, if that's different from you. If you're the opposite, if you're somebody who is a homebody, you may find yourself a little bit more outside, okay? You're outside in these streets. Either way, there's going to be a change within your lifestyle, and also, like I mentioned before, the change within your skill set, learning, exploring, growing, gaining your skills along the lines of that. And we're going to end it there, pile number one, because I don't want to sit and talk about the 2001 themes of Migashira and everything that's going on. Obviously, this is a general reading, and I really hope that you liked it. It feels good to be back for me. Feel free to follow the channel, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to hear next. I love your suggestions. I do try to get to them. I've always kind of been that person. So I want to wish you the best. I do see so many exciting things coming up for you. There's just such growth and development in your character and as a person. And maybe even working on having more stability within your thoughts. Just a quick thing, because Megashira can be very anxious oriented sign. So that's why it's kind of like the deer always searching, looking for something like stability and peace. And I think you're going to find more peace, more mental stability there. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you, pal number 1. Hey, pal number 2, let us get started on your reading on what or where you'll be at like a year from now. And this obviously covers any events that may go on from now until a year from now, because it's not like we're just going to snap our fingers and pretend that, oh my gosh, they're just magically appeared in a year from now and nothing happened in between. Obviously, this is going to cover these. I don't know why I got an accent. This is going to cover, you know, a year from now and everything in between. So let us get into these cards. We have the Four of Pentacles, the Fool, the Tower, Punavarsu, and Moon and Neptune. I don't know why I tried to read it. I could have just looked at the symbols there. But yes, okay. So a year from now, wow. Okay, you're going to be taking some big leaps, right? Let me move this closer. I don't think the camera's quite covering it. So this is letting me know where you might be feeling now. Now, you may feel a little bit stuck, or you may feel like you're in a place where you feel limited by your options, or you may even just feel a lot of fear when it comes to stepping out and doing what you want to do, doing what it is that you want to do within this lifetime. Whatever it is that you're hesitating to do, whatever it is that you feel scared to jump into and leap into, you are going to be doing that a year from now. No hesitation. The Fool is somebody who jumps both feet into the water. They don't dip their toes. That's why this is the Fool card here. They don't have any past experience. They live their life like they are brand new. You know how kids just like run around and jump off things and roll in the grass and put whatever in their mouth. That is that sort of energy that you're bringing in from a year from now, where you're going to be a little bit fearless. Okay. Somebody who's just going to jump in to whatever it is that you're planning, or that you may be a little bit scared of. I'm not really sure what it is. The cards are not that specific. Obviously, this is a general reading. So the Fool is connected to Uranus, and it's so funny because pal number 1 had some Uranus themes going on here. And whenever I get the Fool card, it's kind of like expect the unexpected, man. Like whatever you think is going to be happening, whatever you think your life is going to be at, that is not where you're going to be a year from now. There are going to be new things happening that are going to be shocking, because we got the Fool and the Tower. So the Tower is definitely a major shock factor. It's like, whoa, what in the world is happening? Whenever I talk to people who are Punavarsu, or like I hear about their lives and I kind of like look at what they've been through, it is shocking. It's like they'll just be going about their day and this random circumstance. I mean, it happens to all of us, but some of the stuff that they experience seems a little bit, you know, out there. You can even look at like shows that feature like Punavarsu natives. Like I was just watching Killing Eve. And Killing Eve stars Sandra Oh? And she, I believe, is Punavarsu's son. And you can see how her life quickly turns upside down when she gets recruited to be part of, I think, MI6 or something along the lines of that, and starts hunting assassins, right? It's just so, I mean, it's a TV show, but it kind of gives this element of what Punavarsu is like, where you go from this everyday, normal, regular life, and then you're uprooted by these wild circumstances. Now, I don't know what the circumstances are. The cards are not being very specific, what they are telling you is there's nothing to fear and that everything will be okay. And previously I had done sort of like an Instagram post, I think it was like years ago, talking about themes of Punavarsu, because I noticed that there was a theme of hypnotism and repetition. And what I noticed about this theme is that Punavarsu natives would sort of get caught into these patterns where they slowly repeat the same things over and over again, but each time they're becoming a different version of themselves. I think Groundhog's Day may have been by someone who had Punavarsu placements or starring someone. I can't quite remember. I think I looked this up, like it was years ago, but I know there was some sort of element of like Punavarsu theme going on here. But basically you repeat the same thing. Oh, the movie's about repeating the same day over and over again, but making different changes every time to get the results that you want and so desire. And so within your life, you may find yourself trying different things and seeing what exactly it is that works for you. And over time, you'll notice that you are slowly becoming a new person. Like, for example, let's say you're somebody who is too scared to travel. You're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to solo travel. I need to go with friends and family. And then you start off small and you take like a short trip that's maybe, you know, an hour drive away to, I don't know, some park or, you know, farm. And then you say, oh, that wasn't so bad. That was a nice trip. And then you take another trip. And this time you go to a nearby city that's maybe, you know, what's a nearby city for me? I don't know. I'll say Atlantic City. That's not that nearby, but it's maybe like a 3-hour drive, whatever. So you go 3-hour drive away and you're like, oh, that was kind of a fun trip. I did a little, you know, 3-hour drive. And then the next trip, you know, maybe you go across the country by yourself. And so there's these gradual steps and gradual changes that you're making in your life to suddenly become more bold, more fearless, more brave. And it may shock other people around you, and you may even surprise yourself, to be honest. It's going to be quite thrilling, I think, for you. Another thing that we want to talk about with Punavarsu, and this is just, you know, don't feel scared, don't feel, you know, upset or nervous or anything. You know, life has its ups and downs for us all. But because Punavarsu is represented in a way, I like to think of it as this, people say it's so, a lot of people say it's so peaceful and calming, but it is very like this terrifying sort of energy. It's known in Vedic astrology, I think, is like after the storm, and or it follows Ardra, which is like the storm. So it's, sorry, the card's cut off. But anyway, as I was saying, Punavarsu follows Ardra, which is a storm, which is a nakshatra placement. And so this is after the storm, with Punavarsu technically here. But there's also some kind of like when you have an earthquake and then you have, they call it shock waves, aftershock. This is kind of still that with this tower element here. Punavarsu also has this element of like, I see, there's this poem by this Punavarsu native called like Angry River, where it's about this girl who's basically, her village and her home gets swept away by a river. And she survives, obviously, but that's a devastating loss that's going on here. And so you may even find yourself feeling like, wow, I have just like shedded these parts of me, or I've gone through these circumstances, maybe even like a little bit of a dark night of the soul, or even just a challenging circumstance. And you find that you're just not the same person who came out on the other side. It's all about like facing your fears or facing things that you feel some hesitancy towards when it comes to what exactly where you'll be at over the next year, or what things you may even be experiencing from now until this time next year. So I just want to throw that out there. You're just not going to be the same person. Moon and Neptune, interesting transit. Moon and Neptune can represent a rise in intuitiveness. It also, sorry about that, astronauts. I think my camera is overheating and that's what's going on because it's fully charged and everything. So I'm not really sure. But as I was saying, Moon conjunct Neptune represents this intuitiveness, this sort of wild emotion, or even just having wild ambitions. If you have seen on my channel my Neptune conjunct, my Neptune beauty study, where I studied Neptune conjunct Moon, Neptune conjunct the Ascendant, Neptune conjunct Sun to represent Neptune beauties. Well, one thing that I didn't really mention when it came to Neptune conjunctions, when it comes to, I guess, your major, we'll say planetary aspects, even though the Moon and Sun aren't planets, or neither is the Ascendant, but when it comes to major planetary aspects, but when you have Neptune conjunct them, it can make you very, very ambitious and very, very bold and have a lot of ideas. I'm like saying words double time. I don't know why I'm doing that, but essentially it gives you grand ideas. It makes you very ambitious. It makes you someone who wants to be their unique selves, who doesn't want to conform to circumstances, which also comes up with Punavarsu again. As I was saying before, I think I briefly mentioned it, a lot of Jupiterian people sort of like suppress their anger, suppress their emotions. And so another example, because I'm thinking of Sandra Oh right now, would be Sandra Oh in Turning Red or something along the lines of that, where you see the character has tried to suppress her inner panda, and it's kind of like a metaphor for suppressing your turbulent emotions along the lines of that, or even conforming to society and circumstances. And, you know, there's times where we all just want to scream at the top of our lungs, but we don't do that. Or, well, some of us do, but for the most part, most of us don't do that. Jupiterian people have this way of like wanting to remain calm, where you'll see it a lot where it's like they'll act nice, but they may not be that nice. So they act nice, but they may be cold or they may be mean, but not all Jupiterian people. Okay, let me just throw that out there. A lot of Jupiterian people are genuinely kind and generous and sweet people. But there's this side of them that they may suppress and not be someone who wants to show that a lot of anger, a lot of emotions, even things like excitement along the lines of that. Like my dad was like Jupiterian, and so like I showed him this video of me going down the slide and I'm like screaming, and he's just like, why are you so loud? Why are you screaming? Because Jupiterian people like to like put a bow and like wrap up and control their emotions a lot of the time. But I don't got any Jupiterian placement, so I let myself just be free, right? Well, this is you over the next year. You're this tower moment, and you're going to let yourself be free. And another reason that I mentioned my Neptune conjunct beauty video, I ended by saying Neptune is free, right? So there's going to be a lot more freedom. Uranus also deals with themes of like freedom and exploration in a different way than Neptune, but it is there. And you're going to be expressing yourself a lot more freely. You're going to be more open. You're going to be honest. You're going to be more truthful. You're going to be really living in your emotions. So if you're somebody all tied and coiled up and just not expressing yourself or conforming to circumstances that don't suit you, or being someone who feels a pressure to assimilate, someone who feels the need to I guess, how many times can I say suppress your feelings, not embrace your emotions, along the lines of that, you're going to be expressing yourself double time. It's coming out, and it's going to come out in a way that's unexpected, in a way that you feel like, whoa, I just had a breakthrough. Maybe even just had like a moment where you just have a shock to your system. Maybe you go to therapy and that covers it. Or maybe you go through some circumstance and then you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to say what I need to say. Happens, right? But that's to be expected over the next year, and it's going to make you just a more happy, fulfilled, and honest person. There's also an element of excitement, and I guess I just like to use my own chart and circumstances, stuff like that, because it's the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, I look at other people's stuff too, right? But last time I had Moon conjunct Neptune, for me, I was traveling and I was in Vegas, and I was having the time of my life. I was checking out new sites. I almost felt like this sense of like awe and wonderment. So there was a tower moment actually where I felt like, I was like, oh, this is kind of shocking. Like these casinos are so massive, and there's so many people that have just these large amounts of money going around, and everything just seems so big, and like it was just kind of like a little bit shocking. It was a little bit shocking seeing Vegas for the first time, but in a good way, because obviously I had a great time in Vegas for sure. I was like, wow, this is like living in some type of bizarre world. So you may even feel like that over the next world, where you've like transitioned into like this strange new land, especially with the full here, and the tower and Punavarsu, like I said, I mentioned before, kind of represents these transformative moments, where you finally may feel like, wow, I guess I'm expressing myself now. And even the whole story about killing Eve has to more so do with not her literally dying, but killing a part of herself that was no longer, I guess you could say, serving her, but it was no longer who she was. She finally leaned into the darker sides of herself. She was no longer this kind of like, let me live this cookie cutter life and be this wife, and go to this boring desk job and all the lines of that, and, you know, be this goody two shoes and pretend I never hurt anybody and think along the lines of that. Obviously, she was an extreme example of that. TV shows always are, where she kind of like goes from this cookie cutter person to like an assassin, like by the end of the series. And I'm like, what's going on? But so it was just a transformation of her persona, and I think you can expect that within the next year. You're going to have a lot of personal transformations coming for you. Any other circumstances? Let me think. Well, maybe some things having to do with new habits that you may form. This can also represent like a physical transformation. I want to say that, because this is connected to Mars, and this is connected to Uranus. And when Mars and Uranus come together, it's kind of like a burst of energy. So a lot more like exercising and exploring. But other than that, that is what I have for you, pal number 2. Yeah, I could probably go on all day about all the themes of Punavarsu, having to do with wealth. Sometimes this can represent coming into sudden inheritance, sudden wealth, because this is connected to Mars. Mars rules the 8th house. I go by traditional rulership always. The Fool represents unexpected circumstances. And Punavarsu, when I did a study of people who tend to be like very wealthy, Sun and Punavarsu came up the most, being very successful. And this is also good if you are, depending on your circumstances and who you are, but I've seen Punavarsu represent somebody suddenly becoming like very attractive and very appealing to people. And that could be due to a physical transformation or just having more assets. Also, Punavarsu can deal with literally the Fool. It was like a symbol that I saw a lot come up with Punavarsu, where they were perceived to be sort of foolish or having their head in the clouds and having people take advantage of them, because they have a lot to offer, and they're kind and generous and giving, but they're generally not dumb. Like every circumstance I saw is Punavarsu people kind of were a little bit more aware why people were hanging out with them, why people wanted to be surrounded by them. Oh, they suddenly got some money. Yeah, now I got all these friends. They were very much aware of those circumstances, but they gave and were generous anyway. So that is what I have. Look out for if anyone's, trying to take advantage of you, but still remain kind and generous. That is the Punavarsu nature. You may feel like you are this person who may not have much to offer, or you circumstances may not allow it, but be open, be honest. You have a lot to offer. So that is what I have for you, and I'm going to see you next time. Oh, yeah, this fell, so I guess it's time to close out. So au revoir, pile number 2. Feel free to follow me, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pile number 3, let's get starting on your reading on where will you be at a year from now, and obviously the events that happened in between. We have the 8 of Swords, the King of Cups, and we have the 6 of Pentacles. We have Pluto, double Pluto. I'm guessing that's like a Pluto sextile, Pluto trine, because I'm like, Pluto doesn't really make that conjunction. Pluto is a slow-moving planet, right? It's not going to, I like that, I think I prefer it like this way. It's not going to do anything but sextile or trine within your lifetime for the most part. So, let us see. And Rohini, what is going to be happening? Is this right in the middle of the frame? Come up a little bit closer, right? So, pile number 3. So a year from now, you're going to be in a pretty good place financially. Whenever I get the 6 of Pentacles, it represents somebody who obviously has some more to give, but then they also have their own sense of stability. 6 of Pentacles can also deal with just being generally balanced and taking your time to make decisions. So that's more 7 of Pentacles, but 6 of Pentacles as well. They come from a place where they are thinking things through, they're taking their time, they feel stable. So a year from now, you're going to be in a more financially stable place, or even just more balanced with yourself mentally, because we have the King of Cups. And this is you being somebody who's very emotionally mature. Like the King of Cups has a lot of self-awareness. They have a strong sense of intuition. They're compassionate. They're kind, not only to others, but to themselves. And that includes thinking positive thoughts about yourself. Like, I'm beautiful. I'm smart. I'm caring. I'm an individual. There's no one like me. I am not comparable to others. Things along the lines of that. You just have like a lot of positive thoughts about yourself. Don't get me wrong. You're still got this little bit of a nervous energy going on here with the 8 of Swords. But the thing about the 8 of Swords is just your own limiting thoughts for yourself. You don't have to stay within that element. Also, when I want to talk about with Pluto and Pluto, I think currently like baby boomers have this trine of Pluto and Pluto, and a lot of baby boomers, from what I've read recently, they're kind of at a place in their life where they have enough financial stability. Not all of them, but a lot of them have enough financial stability that they are investing in creating more comfortable lives for themselves, making new additions to their home, sprucing up their property to make themselves more comfortable. And I really get this with the 6 of Pentacles energy here. There's something going on financially for you, or even maybe just like sometimes this is like I find the right career opportunity, I find the right circumstance, I found the right lifestyle, the right eating habits, I find the right exercise for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're somebody who's like, oh, you know what, I'm tired of doing yoga, I want to try something new. Maybe I'll go salsa dancing. And you're like, oh, that didn't really work for me. Maybe I'll try bachata, or, you know, maybe I'll try hula hooping or trampolining. And then finally you run across ice skating and you're like, oh, I love ice skating. It's so great. And you found a lifestyle that you love, that works in with your schedule, that feels balanced and allows you to feel good about yourself, and you are happy and healthy and looking good. And something as simple as that, like having a routine with that. I'm only emphasizing finance because a lot of people care about money, right? I mean, I know I do, so I'm sure you do as well. Anyway, as I was saying before with the Pluto trine, it's really more so about feeling like, yeah, I am empowered, I'm comfortable, I feel good about where I am at right now. I feel like I'm on a steady track. Don't get me wrong, you will still have some of these anxieties I see here, but the cards are kind of saying you really don't have anything to be concerned about. The thing about Rohini here is the moon is exalted in Rohini, meaning it is at its most sort of stable. The moon's a very like changeable, waxing, waning planet. In Rohini, it is happy just being. It is not all over the place with emotions. It is not paranoid. I did a video on moon ruled men, and one thing you'll see about, and particularly, I guess, well, all of them are kind of like this, but in Rohini, they like to, there's like an element of carefreeness to it, or should I say an element of like, not innocence, because they're not innocent, but more so they get really excited about certain like small things, simple things, very much like more creative as well, feeling like, okay, I want to explore more. Rohini's a little bit more curious when it in terms of all the other moon placements like Sharavana or Asta. Rohini is like, okay, I want to try this thing, I want to try that thing, I wanted to do this thing, you know. It reminds me of, I was going to say Mrigashira, but Mrigashira and Rohini right next to each other, so that's why they're kind of similar. But yeah, so more explorative, more stability, more happy about like small things, more someone who's just feeling like, yeah, I just feel good. Like you feel stable, like you feel like, okay, I'm at a great place. So I just see like that mental, I don't know, I guess it's if you feel like you're in a fog, or if you feel like you're in a funk, or if you feel like a lot of like nervousness or even depression and things along like that, you're just going to not have everything totally melt away because we have this Eight of Swords here, but you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to feel like, okay, part of the weight has lifted a little bit, and I can feel more comfortable. Another thing about Pluto energy is you may be taking a deeper look into your psyche. Obviously, with Rohini here, most moon rule placements are very analytical, especially when it comes to just analyzing the behavior of others, and sometimes within yourself as well, depending on the placement. But the moon does have to do with psychology and the mind. So you'll really be taking a deep and reflective look when it comes to yourself and your own inner world, as well as you'll be concentrating on how you could help and possibly benefit others. You're going to be a lot more generous next year. I should have said something else when it came to like a lot of baby boomers are experiencing the Pluto trine, and I don't know what they're calling this. I think it's called the Great Wealth Transfer, where a lot of baby boomers are like priming themselves to transfer all of their wealth to their children, grandchildren, etc. And that's going to be happening at least over the next 20 years, 10 years, maybe even sooner, probably possibly happening now. But essentially, this is going to be one of the greatest wealth transfers in the history of America, because the baby boomers generation had the most opportunities for success. So looking at a lot of ways that you can help and benefit others is something that I see for you. And then also you yourself may be receiving some inheritance and support from, you know, friends, family, whether that's emotional or physical. I think it's going to be both. I think it's like emotional and actually tangible support as well is going to be happening for you. Now, everything I've read about Pluto and seen about Pluto really focuses more so on the psychological factors going on here and overcoming trauma, overcoming doubts, overcoming fears. And so with this Eight of Swords here, it lets me think that you are going to like slowly sort of kind of come out of your shell and feel a little bit more confident and comfortable. Rohini is a moon ruled nakshatra, and they have a lot of good characteristics that make them very charismatic and sociable. So someone like Obama, who's known for his charisma, is I believe he has his moon in Rohini. There's a lot of people. Andre 3000, I believe he has sun in Rohini. I'm not going to go down the list of everyone in Rohini, but you could see that they generally have like this kind of positive, charismatic light about them. just an energy that is kind of fun, loving, and sweet. So I see you opening up and being a little bit more sociable and being able to just relax and let down your guard a little bit. Now, it's not going to happen obviously overnight. It's going to be step by step, and you're going to need a little help with your transformation. But a transformation is coming when it comes to I'm going to say the social aspects, because it's right next to the King of Cups, and usually Cups deal with sort of one-on-one partnership communications and along the lines of that. And then overcoming some sort of psychological barriers. So if you have social anxiety, this is going to sort of help you unravel that social anxiety for you. If you're talking about any sort of superficial changes, there may be some experimentation with fashion, music, creativity. Anything creative is kind of like Rohini, lane. That's going to deal with that. Let me just take a minute to reflect on all the themes of Rohini, because there is a lot going on here. Honestly, it really is just about like being bold and daring and take charge. I guess a lot of people don't think about the moon this way, but the moon is a placement of, especially Rohini, of leadership, as I just mentioned, President Obama. And another like Rohini show, I think this is Peaky Blinders, and starring Cillian Murphy. And one thing I see people talk about is, when they talk about the show, is the way he takes charge and the way he takes leadership. And I see you taking a lot more charge and leadership roles, obviously, with the Six of Pentacles there. That's definitely a card that represents leadership. Same with King of Cups. He's in a place of leadership. And Rohini itself is very leadership-oriented as well. And I see that you are somebody who is going to, I just noticed the card said, you know, creativity and charisma. Yeah, that's exactly what I observed from them. Yeah, a lot of creativity and charisma as well. But what was I, oh, seductive. Yeah, definitely for sure. Didn't even get into that aspect of the seduction part of Rohini, but whatever. That's another story for another day. I mean, yeah, maybe. Rohini is very much like free-flowing when it comes to that aspect of the life. What was I going into? Taking on leadership roles, being in positions of power, taking charge. That's what I was thinking of. Taking charge more so of your own life and your own destiny. The thing about Rohini is they always have a theme where they take on the path that somebody has chosen for them, because they're looking for guidance. They're looking for direction. It's like, seems like a theme throughout Rohini people's lives. Like there's this scene in Fleabag written by Rohini native. Can't remember the name of the woman. Why is her name escaping me? But the writer of Fleabag and stars in it, she has replacement in Rohini, and there's a scene where she's just like, I want someone to tell me what to do, you know, something along the lines of that. So she doesn't have to think. She doesn't have to take responsibility for action. She doesn't have to figure out what she wants to do with her life or who she is. But this is you being able to figure out what exactly is that you want to do with your life, who you are, taking charge of your own mission, and setting out to do whatever it is that you want to do, and really exploring and getting into that. There, you may find yourself in connecting with people in a more intimate way as well. And also, I just see that you are ultimately going to just have a lot more mind-blowing or experiences, or very transformative experiences. And that's the main message that I'm getting. Look at that, the power to grow. That's right. You know, it's more so just transforming who you are into a more self-aware individual. Even though you have a great amount of self-awareness, to be honest, But the emotional maturity is going to really grow for you. And you're going to be in this place where you just feel a lot calmer. So that's the things happening for you a year from now. In terms of romance, Rohini attracts a lot of people. Pluto, obviously more of a sexually charged energy. So yeah, you might just attract a lot of people. I don't necessarily see any cards that have to do with like relationships. But Rohini is a planet that rules fertility. So maybe for some of you guys, you may find that yourself, if you're a woman or if you're a man, get someone pregnant. Or if you're a woman, you become pregnant. Just because Rohini is a very fertile planet. I did a study on like who has like the most children. I think Rohini was one of the placements. They were one that had like one of the most children, but they were also the ones who were like super against children as well. But yeah, Rohini's known for fertility and having like a lot of kids and stuff on lines of that. It's just the placement for that, which makes sense because it's the moon's exaltation point. Yeah, so that is what I have for you in that. Expect some financial gains, like I said, coming in, and also expect to give that out. Expect some emotional growth. Expect to feel a lot more calm, more stable, and expect to just be a little bit more magnanimous and charismatic is how you're being perceived by others. So that is what I have for you, pal number 3, and I will see you next time. Oh, fun. Hey, pal number 4, let's see where you're going to be a year from now, and obviously what's going to be happening from now, a year from now, you know what I mean? We're going to cover events in between because this is obviously a progress. Oh, you guys got 4 cards. Wow. I didn't even realize, but yeah, where will you be a year from now? And as I was mentioning, this is obviously going to cover what's going to be happening between now and a year from now as well, because it's not like we just jump into a year from now without anything occurring, right? So let's go over these cards. We have the 7 of Pentacles. We have the Wheel of Fortune. We have the 6 of Wands. We have the 3 of Wands. We have Moolah, and we have Jupiter and Saturn together. That's what I love about these cards. They don't have conjunctions and stuff. I mean, we do have trines and stuff in the deck, but, you know, they just give me the energy of the cards, which I like reading with better. So, wow, a lot of great things are happening for you, pal number 4. There is you taking the time to really invest and decide what it is that you want to do next. Maybe some type of goal, maybe some plan, maybe a vacation, because sometimes the 3 of Wands can represent travel for me in the deck. And maybe you're like planning your next trip or something along the lines of that. You could be planning your next career move. You could be planning to move into a house. Granted, these aren't really house cards, but you know, for some of you, you might be planning to move into a house or an apartment. There's also just so many different things that you could be investing in when it comes to your life, that it's a general reading, right? So whatever it is that you're planning for, whatever it is that next step that you are willing to take, it looks like things are going to be working out for you. So you don't really have anything to fear. There's this Wheel of Fortune card here. It was connected to Jupiter because of its state of fortune. And it's letting me know that you are going to be blessed with any venture that you dive into. It's kind of saying that you are someone who has just luck on their side at the moment. Wherever you at a year from now, you're going to feel lucky. You're going to feel appreciated. You're going to feel celebrated. You're going to feel victorious. And whatever it is that you have set out to do, you're going to feel like, yeah, I really did that. I accomplished that. That was me. I remember I got this, and this is a small example where I got the 6 of Wands. Technically it was reversed, but it doesn't matter because the 6 of Wands reversed is kind of like, yeah, it reminds me of that TikTok, a win is a win, right? Where it's like, okay, not exactly what I thought was going to happen, but this works too. So Upright means like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, and I got what I wanted. I got exactly what I wanted. So you're going to feel like, wow, that I accomplished that. I did that. Whether that's you graduating, or like I said, you getting a raise, you getting a job, you starting a business, you having success in that business, you starting a family, or, you get your kid into some private school or something along the lines of that. Whatever it is that you have been spending your time investing in, whether it's like, okay, well, I want to write a book, and you put the book out there and it's successful, or I want to start a fashion line, and you start the fashion line and you have a lot of success. I'm not saying that it's like you blew up overnight or anything along the lines of that, but you're starting to see success for sure, is what the cards are implying for you a year from now. And with this Seven of Pentacles here, it kind of lets me know that you already have a strong background. You already have done your research, or you are doing your research. But I always get this representing someone who has like a good skill set, a good foundation, kind of like, you've already had some starter jobs on your resume. You have some experience. Like, you're not starting from scratch. You're not like 16, 17, 18 getting your first job or something along the lines of that. This is like, oh no, I've got some years of experience under my belt type of card. And so this lets me know that you have some years of experience with whatever it is that you are investing into, or looking into, or really looking at. Along the lines of that, we have more wands, and wands deal with education, which no one really talks about. They talk more so about the passion with wands, but wands represent education. They connect to the 5th and the 9th house, which are the two education houses, right? They represent individuality and creativity. The wands represent romance. They represent travel. They represent competitiveness, sports, games, anything that you like to do for fun. So I see a lot more fun in your future as well. You're having a lot more fun a year from now, a lot more creativity. Speaking of wands, Moolah is part of the 9th house. It is a fire sign as well. It is in a fire sign. So I guess the cards are kind of narrowing it down and saying, okay, what kind of fire? Is it the 1st house? Is it the 5th house? Is it the 9th house? It's focusing a little bit more on the 9th house here, which makes sense because we also have the Jupiter connection here, and then Jupiter once again repeating. So something about 9th house theme. So 9th house connects to, it can connect to contracts. It can connect to publishing. It can connect to long-term trips, movies, long-term like formats of things. So I say movies because it's like a long-term format of a TV show. Granted, TV shows tend to be longer, but movies are kind of viewed as like, okay, this is a specialized thing. I don't know how to explain that, but I've just seen 9th house represent movies more, and more 3rd house represent TV. Journalism, news, belief systems, support from mentors, weirdly enough, or like conversations you may have with mentors along the lines of that, which makes sense because it goes to belief systems and like a higher skill set. That is something that it also connects with as well, like any type of transits and things that I have to my 9th house. Technically it can rule social media as well, because I've seen like it trigger that in people's charts as well as my own. So like if I get like a major 9th house transit, I'm like, I turn into like social media obsessed. It's like, what is going on here? I've never cared this much before. And so things along the lines of that rules 9th house, as well as having to do with seeking truth, seeking answers, making sure that you are being true to who you are. And so when we have all of that, we could say, okay, maybe you're somebody's going back to school. Or like I said before, maybe you graduate. Maybe you are taking a trip, going somewhere, reevaluating your belief systems or gaining a new belief systems or insights, feeling a sense of inspiration, because that is definitely what Moolah will do for you. Like, you'll feel inspired. You'll feel passionate. I think Denzel Washington might have Moolah placements, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on it, because I don't have everybody's chart memorized. And you know how he's known for like being like, I don't know, the sort of like the Hollywood motivator or something along the lines of that. And he's always giving these speeches on like what you need to do, and not letting people get you down, and staying focused and things along the lines of that. People like use him as being like motivational and aspirational. So you yourself may be highly motivated, and you may also be motivating others a year from now, which is fantastic news, to feel so inspired and feel so motivated and wanting to get up every day. Feeling a strong sense of purpose, feeling like you are doing what you want to do within the world, feeling like that the work that you are putting in is like showing, it's come to fruition, it's happened. And not only that, but things are going well in terms of that. And also, as I mentioned before, we're reevaluating your belief system. Whenever I get Saturn and Jupiter together, that's usually what happens. Because Jupiter's like, oh, I believe. And Saturn's like, why? Or let me test that belief, Let me see just how much you really have faith in this thing. Which can be quite literal when it comes to faith, or it could test your faith within a relationship. It could test your belief within yourself, and how you may feel inside, and what makes you motivated. Or it may test your biases, where you may feel like your biases are being challenged, because we all have to kind of reevaluate and assess our biases daily, because we're always fed messages and programming from the world around us that isn't always the most positive. And it's good to question your reality, so that you aren't, any of the isms, sexism, racism, like, so you don't have to fall into those categories. And constantly reevaluating and looking into things is something that I see you doing a year from now. You may have a huge transformation within your belief systems as well. You may start viewing things from a different lens. You may feel that, or even you may even feel that your beliefs are being validated. Like what you thought was true is actually true. Granted, I doubt it, because Moolah is very transformative and destructive, and the Wheel of Fortune represents a change. So I definitely do think it's more so of a change of belief, but maybe for a small pocket of you, it's like, yeah, my beliefs are being validated, but we'll see. Moolah, I think either it was Ketu in Moolah or Rahu in Moolah or something along the lines of that, when we were entered the pandemic. And you can see how powerful Moolah is. It will uproot your life completely. It is known as the most destructive nakshatra, because it's unrooting the truth. It's getting to the heart of the matter. And you see how so many people changed their perspective on life once they went through that situation of the lockdowns and everything, because that's what Moolah will do. It will put you in a very extreme circumstance where you are forced to reevaluate things. Granted, I don't know if this is going to be extreme. You just may come up with a lot of more information. Sometimes we get Moolah to represent a lot of studying, a lot of studiousness. I've known Moolah people to just be highly educated along the lines of that, be deep thinkers, have a lot of communications with various groups of people, and thus they are more cultured and along the lines of that. So I do see a lot of different cultures and backgrounds coming for you within the next year. Having more experience where you're meeting different groups of people is for sure going to be happening for you. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I have missed. Strong focus on the belief systems and what it is that you find certain. That's going to be, like I said, your beliefs are going to be challenged within the next year, and you're definitely going to have a new perspective on matters. A lot of planning ahead for the future I see you doing a year from now. You may even be doing that. Like I see you doing it already. No, you're planning now and you'll be planning over the next year from now, you're waiting for those plans. Some of them will come true already, but then there's some more that you'll be waiting on to come true. And what else can we add to this little blurb of things? The power to destroy, Nefertiti. What can I say about Mula? It's strong. Mula's intelligent. Mula's about studying. Mula's about knowing the world you're in. Mula's about being in touch with your inner raw nature. It is uncensored. It's honest, and I mean very honest. Maybe honest to a point it might be hurtful. It's about losing and gaining and coming out through these circumstances. It really is like the Wheel of Fortune. I guess that's why Jupiter rules Sagittarius, where you go through these ups and downs and where you have everything, then you have nothing. And then you have to deal with the nothingness. And then you have to deal with the everything. I think, who's a good example? Like Aaron Carter is somebody who had Mula rising. Obviously, he's gone from this lifetime now, but you saw how he went from this crazy height of fame to just drug addiction and being out of the limelight and slowly kind of disintegrating. Not to say that any of that's happened to you, but it's almost like you're going through a change of fortune. So if you were in a circumstance that is not ideal, or if you feel like things were stagnant, that is not the way things are going to be a year from now. You're going to have this wave of fortune that's going to be like a blessing, to be honest. And it's going to be something that's going to be, as I was saying, it's going to be something that's going to be long lasting because Saturn is there to create stability. So I see a lot of great things happening to you from a year from now. Maybe even a little bit of like a glow up if you are planning that. And all right, pal number 4, let me wrap this up because my camera's battery is exhausted. But yes, as I was saying, you could possibly have a little glow up because the 3 of Wands I get for experimenting with a look, and the 6 of Wands has to do with being celebrated, as well as feeling confident within yourself. Now this could be like a physical glow up, or maybe you just have a glow up in terms of confidence and everything. One thing I just want to mention before we go is when we have Jupiter and Saturn, it kind of reminds me of the Great Conjunction. I did a video on the Great Conjunction, but it had to do with more sort of like a lot of revolutionizing changes, a lot of tensions between governments and their people. And how that relates to you is that you may feel like, because these cards are so positive, that the people who may have had, more power or control, etc., over you in your life, whether that's like a boss or some sort of societal structure, you feel a little bit more free, and you feel like that's like letting up a little bit more, or even you just might feel a lot more supported towards reaching your goals. Maybe you feel like your work is moving in a direction that you like, or if you don't work, and I don't know, maybe you just feel supported by the people around you, and you feel like they are supporting you towards achieving your goals. I think around this time, the Great Conjunction, there was the bill that was signed for COVID relief in the United States. So it was like the government was finally supporting the people. And so you may finally feel like, hey, I got some support in my life where people around me are coming to my aid, or even just giving me that emotional support in a sense. Excuse me. Mula does kind of represent a little bit more isolation, but it seems to me that you have plenty of people around you. Maybe you just kind of like go into these moments where you just need some time to yourself. And so you're carving out a little bit more time to yourself, but for the most part, you have like a good support system around you that I see happening from you a year from now. And as I said, you'll be waiting on a few new things. And that is all I want to go into because we can't talk forever. My camera won't allow it, my voice won't allow it, and YouTube won't allow it. So that is what I have for you, pal number 4. It is going to be an amazing time. You're going to be doing quite well a year from now, okay? A lot of good stuff happening for you. I didn't mention any partnerships because I don't see any water here, and Moolah is not really the best card when it comes to partnerships. So, and also the 6 of Wands is more so me focused. So I see your focus being more so on yourself. If you have a partner, your partner won't be like, I mean, it's not like saying they won't be there. They'll be more of a supporting role. Like they won't be the centerpiece. You know, sometimes in relationships, you kind of have to rotate, and maybe one person needs a little bit more attention than the other at that moment. And a year from now, you'll be that person who needs that attention, who needs that support, and your partner would be that support for you. Or, you know, for some people, they may find themselves without a partner because Moolah can really uproot people. It is known as the root. Okay, before I got cut off, I'm so sorry. I think I'm going to have to buy a new battery for my camera. But as I was saying, Moolah is connected to roots and uprooting, as well as trying to almost find a home in a way, a place where you feel stable, secure. So I can also see you looking to explore different avenues. Moolah is a very curious placement, always trying to educate themselves, always trying to learn. And because it is a K2 ruled nakshatra, it does deal with themes of the past. And right away, the first card was, well, in this order, in this lineup, the 7 of Pentacles is coming up first, and you can see it's looking to the past. So I can definitely see you taking time to reflect and think about your past decisions as you move forward a year from now. And you're going to be making some very important choices that will have a very heavy impact because Moolah is that Gandanta point. It is also, you know, known as the center of the galaxy, and we don't want to get into everything that it rules. So some major decision making happening in your life a year from now, and also waiting on a few ventures to come in. This could be passion projects. It could also be good news that you're waiting for. There's so many different elements in your life that this can center around, but ultimately focus on the themes that I have previously mentioned in this video. And that is all I have for you, pal number 4. I wish you the best of luck. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on TikTok if you want to see me vlog or something. And I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number 4, let's get started on your life a year from now. And obviously we're going to be covering, you know, some happenings that may be going on in between, because we don't just, you know, time doesn't just put us in the next year without things happening in between, right? We don't just wake up and it's in a year from now, right? So I'm sure the cards will be speaking to what's going to be going on that leads you to where you are a year from now. All right, so we have a Purva Falguni, we have Neptune with Mercury, we have the Page of Wands, the 6 of Swords, and we have Death. Make sure that these cards move a little bit closer so you can see everything. So a year from now, the first thing that I notice is Purva Falguni and the 6 of Swords. So the things that these two cards have in common is travel. Whenever I see Purva Falguni natives, they always have like a sort of traveling spirit. Not really sure what the theme is. I haven't like deeply invested myself into Purva Falguni and done like a deep dive like I want to do. But I have seen that theme of traveling, especially come up. And when I read for myself, if I say, oh, it's going to be a Purva Falguni week, it's going to be a Purva Falguni month, there's obviously there's an element of like experiencing different cultures, experiencing different experiences, and going new places. Same with the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is a messenger, so messengers travel all over to deliver messages. Okay, so that is what we have. A year from now, you may find yourself traveling, or even in between from now to a year from now, you may find yourself having gone to new places, or even just moving in a sense. You may be debating on whether or not you want to create a new environment for yourself and move to a different place. Maybe your current living situation isn't the best and you're like, nah, I gotta get out of here. I've got to move on and go someplace nicer, bigger, better, finer things that just feel like they elevate you and nurture you and celebrate your energy, and really dive into the things that bring you a lot of pleasure in life. Another thing we have with the Page of Wands is we're having some new experiences. I think we just briefly just touched on that, but not just new experiences when it comes to like travel and culture, though that is a possibility, but there's things that you may want to do that could possibly be fun. Puva Falguni in Vedic astrology is located in the sign of Leo in the 5th house. Wands also connect to fire signs. So I do see that maybe you're like, okay, I want to date more. Or if you're in a relationship, you're like, let's go out on dates and let's experience some new things together. Or even just investing in hobbies and trying new things that you find might be fun. Maybe you're like, oh, I want to go whitewater rafting. I want to go hiking. Or maybe you want some indoor activities and you're just like, you know what? I have never been to an indoor adventure park. Let me try that for once, or something along the lines of that. There also could be some element of studying and studiousness, because Venus, which rules Puva Falguni, is the guru, and the Page of Wands is a student. So if you are a student, this would imply studying, as well as we have Mercury here. It is with Neptune, so it would be like more studying. So well, no, Neptune can rule things that are sort of like everyday happenings and everything. But it is a stronger connection to mysticism, beauty, culture, more so things that have to do with a lot of like, what's the word for it? Concepts and ideas, like power, beauty, whatever, things along the lines of that. Mercury and Neptune isn't really like necessarily practical skills. I mean, you can gain practical skills from them, but it's more so focusing on understanding concepts and ideas, because that is what Neptune wants to deal with, and it wants to be in that element and in that world. So it's great if you are developing yourself creatively, if you're somebody who is an artist, or if you're someone who's really into social media. You may even find yourself putting yourself out there more within the next year. If you're more so a private person, then this would probably just be having more intimate conversations with people, especially when we have Death card here. And it is on the same row as the pages. So this could be some conversations having to do with wanting to elevate yourself and really focus what it is that you want to achieve. Like, what is it that really nurtures your soul and makes you happy and makes you feel passionate? That's like something that could possibly be a focus for you. In terms of relationships, obviously the Venusian ruled placements, especially Puva Falguni. I think I spoke about it in my Black Beauty study, but Puva Falguni and Uttara Falguni are known as the, Puva Falguni is the front legs of the marital cot, and Uttara Falguni is the back legs of the marital cot, meaning they have to do with unionship and marriage and forming relationships and partnerships. And Death card is connected to Scorpio, the 8th house, which is known as also married life. So 7th house would be married, 8th house would be married life. It's private, it's intimate, it's between you and your partner. So there could also be some sort of deepening of a union if you're in a relationship. If you are single, these aren't necessarily cards that represent I'm going to be in a relationship. I'm going to be honest. It's more so trying different things that you normally didn't do. Let's say you're used to online dating. Maybe you throw that away and say, no, I'm going to date in person. I'm going to be like those people on TikTok doing those like running groups, or I'm going to try speed dating, or maybe I'm just going to be a regular at some bar or some place where, I don't know, there's lots of different places people have hobbies, pottery, making classes. You're like, I'm going to be a regular at some place, and that's going to be how I go about meeting people who I find compatible in that sense. So that would be trying new things in that way. Mercury and Neptune, when they come together, it really does have to do with creating stronger communication when it comes to your inner feelings and your inner world. If you're having trouble expressing yourself, then you're going to learn to improve and express yourself in a better way, if that makes sense. So let's say you don't have the proper words to describe something. With Mercury and Neptune here, over the next year or by next year, you're going to get to a place where you are properly able to communicate how you feel, what you think, just those deeper inner emotions, and even expressing vulnerability in a sense, okay? If that resonates with you. If you're already working on that, doing the inner work, and you're really into practicing being vulnerable and being open, then this is a great opportunity for you over the next year. Another thing we have with Purva Falguni and Death is both of these houses, because this connects to the 8th house, and Purva Falguni connects to sort of having the finer things, obtaining the finer things in life. We do have an element of receiving things that may be of luxury or high quality. So you may have opportunities to have more so high-end luxury experience or obtain high-end luxury things. Whatever it is that you value and you view as high-end or luxury, that would be something that you will get the opportunity to experience, or you will be in that element of next year. But I do see this year being a little bit more like, by this time next year, it feels a little bit more quiet, a little bit more so, what's the word? It's not like things aren't happening, because we have the Death card, and Death is like sudden changes, sudden happenings. And when I get Purva Falguni, from what I've studied, and they have like these wild things that happen in their life, these things that just seem, wow, this came out of left field. I have met people with Purva Falguni who have dated people, and all of a sudden those people that they were dating joined a cult, or suddenly they might lose people in their life, or suddenly they find themselves in a situation, like this was a positive one, where they're just on a sailboat out at sea, which Purva Falguni, and I believe it might or may be Purva Ashada, but the Venus New Nakshatras have to deal with being water on a sailboat, things along the lines of that. And being able to express yourself creatively is also very important. I also follow someone who's Purva Falguni, and like randomly they ended up on some like love dating show, some game show along the lines of that. I think it might have been like the Bachelorette. It's like they disappeared, and all of a sudden they were on like the Bachelorette, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I've been following this creator for a while, and all of a sudden they're on the Bachelorette. So you may have some really wild happenings going on. Don't get me wrong, you'll be in calmer waters, and mentally you may feel like, yeah, I'm moving away from like the crazy stuff, and I got a good head on my shoulders, but there's going to be some wild things happening from you a year from now. The cards don't say it's anything like that you may be scared or nervous about. If anything, it's just going to be interesting and new, and you're going to feel like, wow, this is really a lot different. Like, I'm really gaining some new information. When I was traveling to Dubai, like, I always like to do relocation charts, and for my friend, Dubai was on her Neptune chart. And so for that experience for her, it felt like things were out of this world. It felt like this is just, I feel like I'm living in a fantasy land, because everything was so nice, so luxurious, so, you know, high class. Like, all of the Ubers were like white Lexuses. You know, it just seems like, what is going on here? We're like in some kind of strange fairy tale, right? Because everything seems so high and so nice and it was so cheap. So Neptune brings this feeling of like awe and amazement. And it also brings a very individualized experience, especially with Purva Falguni, because they focus so much on separating themselves and making themselves known that, hey, there's nobody else like me. And so you'll be having some unique experiences that maybe other people around you just may find hard to relate to. So for them, they're like, this is some wild story that you are telling here that I don't even know what to say. So you'll be experiencing a lot of fantastical things over the next year. Or a year from now, you may find yourself in a situation that you're just like, how did I even get here? How is this even happening right now? Purva Falguni is definitely an ambitious placement. I believe Tyler Perry has this, and he is one of the few black made. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's at least a multi-millionaire. He made everything from his own money, his own scratch, and he invested in himself. And so I see you being more invested in building yourself up, transforming your life. Now, what elements of your life? More so, we got the relationships because we have the swords and death is right next to the swords cards. So your relationships with others, your communication, the way you think, as well as, like I said, if you're into social media presence, how you make money can also be that, because swords also connect to the 11th house, which is Aquarius, air sign going on there. And so these are things that you may find yourself transforming over the next a year from now. Like the way that you make money may be totally different. Just a year from now. I don't need to repeat that again, but it's just going to be a lot different. One of those elements can be true, where I talk about how the relationships that you change, the people that you meet may be different. They may be more, they may be, I don't know if I want to say troubled, but they may have gone through a lot more challenges. I think that was the first thing I mentioned, just meeting people of different cultures and backgrounds to give you a different perspective on things, because ultimately Neptune's connect to Pisces, Pisces connects to the Hangman, Hangman connects to different perspectives. So you're gaining new insights and new different perspectives, and it has to do with your communications with other people. I don't know if this is you moving to a new place where you meet other people, you proactively seeking new people to be in communications with and make friendships and form relationships with, business partnerships if you're into that. Sometimes it can even be professional, because one thing that I've noticed when I see transits to the air houses is that I will meet more people in professional spheres, like professors, doctors, lawyers. I have more contacts with people who are in high achieving professional placements. So you may have more conversations or more interactions with people who are very focused in their skill set. And that in turn will give you a different perspective on matters. In terms of actual like material things happening, Purva Falguni focuses a lot on beauty, charm, charisma, along the lines of that. So I think I mentioned this with one other previous pile, but this can also be some sort of transformation when it comes to beauty. And in regards to that, transformation of style, transformation when it comes to your friendships, relationships, how you date, as I mentioned before. Changing jobs, already mentioned that. Definitely changing jobs is one that's really important because it focuses on how you make your money. Even focusing on a hobby that may potentially make you money, or even just focusing on things that you find enjoyable and things that you love. Definitely, I see you becoming more bold, someone who in their communication, if you're somebody who's more of a passive person, with this Mercury and Neptune energy, this is you being a little bit stronger, a little bit more fierce in your communication a year from now. taking bolder strides, really saying what it is that you think and believe. You're going to be a lot less timid if you are timid. If you're not timid, then you're going to keep doing your thing and being very bold and outspoken about the way that you do things. And one thing to note about Venus ruled nakshatras is Venus rotates and turns opposite to the other planets, which goes to that individualism that I was talking about before. But it also lets me know that you may be investing your time in things that typically people aren't invested in. When you think of the art world, most people perceive people who are involved in the art world to be more open-minded. So a year from now, you may surround yourself with more open-minded individuals, or you yourself may become more open-minded. Either way, we have a big change coming for you. Change for the better, change for your circumstances, change to feel like you are a little bit more empowered and in control of your destiny. Maybe even exploring a little bit more of your sexuality. That is something that could also be a part of it. And having some downtime. I do want to say that because I do see with the swords tend to have a little bit more time to relax. So that could also be something that you may find yourself able to do. Sometimes when you have Mercury and Neptune, Mercury rules your skill sets and Neptune can mean like meditation. So you may have more moments to just breathe in, breathe out, more time to yourself as well. But really, I think the main thing is that the relationships, or even like I said, your actual location will change. You'll have new relationships in your life. And these are going to be deeper connections. It could even be calling in a soulmate. That's probably going to be for a small few of you. I don't see a lot of other soulmate supporting cards, but Puva Falguni does have to deal with, love, relationships, connection, as I said, marriage, and enjoyment and fulfillment. But really, you're creating your own path for yourself. And you're getting a lot stronger mentally, maybe even physically. All the Puva Falguni people I know tend to like to focus on, like I said, the beauty. And a part of that is like being physically active. But I think that's the main messages that the cards want to say for you from a year from now. It's not really focusing a huge amount on finances, but I did say if there's some financial things, it's going to be for the better, nicer things. If we look at what's not here, because sometimes I like to do that, there's no water and there's no pentacles. And water is focusing more so on home life, focuses on, well, I guess death could be water. So that's 8th house. So I guess that is water energy. So there's really more so, there's no pentacle energy. And pentacles focus more so on the finances, career, everyday routine, things along the lines of that. So this could even be implying that your everyday may be a little bit more unpredictable, a little bit more up in the air, a little bit more easygoing. Puva Falguni is known as the hammock. It's kind of like, let's just see where the day takes us. A lot of Puva Falguni natives can be homebodies, put on a face for the world, but then they're really like, hey, I gotta be at home. Like, I'm really not this out there going individual that I'm putting on for everyone. Doing things behind the scenes, being a little bit more mysterious in a way, I do feel like that. People may feel like you're a little bit more mysterious over the next year or a year from now, and they're like, where are they? So there's that energy going on. But a lack of pentacles can mean a lack of stability and routine within your life a year from now. So I do want to keep that in mind. That doesn't necessarily be a bad thing. Maybe you're entering a 5-year. I had a 5-year. That 5-year was insane. Like, there was so much happening, you know, like from like job loss to getting a relationship to breaking up to getting another job to, you know, traveling. And it was just like, what is happening? So you may feel like a year from now, you're like, what is going on? It's like every other day there's something different. So that is what I want to give for you guys, pile number 5. It's a little bit expect the unexpected, but it's not the same like constant sudden energy that Uranus brings. The Death card is more so, this is a big sudden change that affects my life. Whereas Uranus energy is kind of like a little spark every day that feels like, whoa, this is different, this is different, this is different. So yeah, that is what I have for you. And if you like the reading, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you next time. I don't have anything else to say. Yeah. Oh yeah. If you want to follow me in my life, you can go to my TikTok. I will link that below, and I will see you next time. Au revoir.